What is your reaction or facial expression when you know you made some heat?
Like as in a good thing.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Sonically podcast, where music creators educate music creators. I am Elmo. In today's episode, we're joined by the talented duo A Great Big World. Known for their heartfelt songwriting and soaring melodies, Ian, Axel, and Chad King captured the world's attention with their single, This Is the New Year, and their Grammy-winning hit, Say Something, featuring Christina Aguilera. Now they're gearing up to release their highly anticipated new EP, Then There Were Sparks, dropping February 21st. The title track is already making waves, capturing themes of nostalgia, love, and longing. In today's conversation, we'll explore their journey to mainstream success, their creative process, the stories behind their most moving songs, and what fans can expect from their new EP. So without further ado, let's welcome A Great Big World to the show. What's up, guys? How's it going?
How you doing?
How are you?
Very well, doing very well. I'm super excited to have you guys on the show, especially since we are a podcast for aspiring music creator, and you guys have been a very special songwriting, producing artist duo that have been doing their thing for many years and have had great success. So we're just super excited to explore your guys' journey. But I was wondering if we could kind of rewind the clock back a little bit to the beginning. Did you guys grow up with music in your lives?
Chad, you want to take it first?
Well, I, sure. I mean, the first time I remember music, my mom always said that I was like bopping and dancing when I was like a toddler. But like but when I was like 7, I started singing, acting, dancing. Yeah, so music has been in my life ever since then. Yeah.
And then for me, I've been playing piano since like I started talking. So like really like 3. Like I was playing in my grandma's like upright, and then because I started playing it, my parents moved the upright to our house and started piano lessons, did the whole classical thing. So that's how it started for me. And when I was a kid in like school, it was all about like the talent shows. Like I loved performing at the talent shows, and I was writing my own music, and I always loved doing that thing. Like I did classical stuff too, but I always loved doing like playing my own music, even though I wasn't singing until I met Chad.
What were some of the sonics happening in your guys' households?
Yeah. Um, it was uh, Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Because my dad. Phil Collins. Um, Yanni. Remember Yanni?
Yeah.
Uh, I like grew up when it was like the whole Yanni like Tesh thing, and so like my first concert ever was a Yanni concert, and I was like, wow, this guy plays 2 pianos like this, and then and he doesn't know how to read music, but he like kind of writes it. And I was like so impressed by that.
For me, I feel like my mom was obsessed with like oldies music, and but now it's strange to even say oldies. But 50s, 60s, even 70s, I would say like those were like the decades that I was so influenced by my parents. Um, yeah, I mean, my dad, Led Zeppelin was actually my
Wow.
dad's favorite
My
band.
my
Yeah,
dad loved them too.
really?
Thinking about those influences being in your household and kind of moving a little bit forward to maybe remembering that first time you experienced the nostalgia of creation with music as a outlet or a tool. Do you remember that moment, and did those influences play a role in kind of like what you did?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you know, like I think the earliest influences for me that play a role in what we create, and I think the same is for Chad because we've talked about it a lot, is like, you know, is the stuff from like the Disney movie musicals, like when we were kids, and like I was really into that, and I was also really into like, film scores and the music in movies, and so I feel like that has made it into like when I write piano themes for songs, or in how theatrical our music might lean as well.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Like we grew up when Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, like those were coming out, and those were like the biggest influence on me musically for sure. Like I knew I was like that. I would whatever this is doing to my soul and however it's making me feel. I want to do that. I want to be close to that in
Totally.
whatever way I can.
And then it was like Star Wars music, and then it was like when I heard the West Side Story, I'm like, when I saw that movie, I'm like, what is this? And then
Yeah, I can definitely hear that in your music today, and a lot of the influence, especially like with a lot of the piano riffs you guys choose. I wanted to move a little bit into you guys' relationship as a duo in how it all kind of started, how it all came to be that you guys just, met and felt like you were meant to work together all these years.
Well, I knew it before Chad. We were in NYU in college, and we were in the same class. I think it was music publishing, because we studied music business actually. And I knew that I was looking for someone to write music with. I knew that Chad wrote music, so I had like kind of like my eye on him. And then we were put in the same group for an assignment, and I confirmed that he wrote songs and that he was going to be in the practice rooms in one of the NYU buildings at a certain time one evening. And I said, "Oh, like, can I stop by and like show you what I'm working on, like some melodies?" And he's like, "No, I got to practice my trumpet. Like, I don't really have time." And so I'm like, "This is BS." I booked I booked a practice room at the same time in the same building, and I found him in the room, and I knocked on the window, and like I forced myself into the room.
And to be honest, I didn't think much of like I was already had a massive friend group, and I was like on my way. I was like, I'm gonna do this and this and that, and then Ian's coming around, and I'm like, oh my God, I just don't have time. And then Ian knocked on the practice room door, and then I think he played me something then, and it was then that I was like, whoa, everything sort of stopped, and my whole life completely changed because it was like this is what's the most important thing right now.
Do you remember the time where you guys first collaborated in the studio and just sort of like started bouncing ideas off each other? Like,
Yeah,
did it just click right away?
it clicked right away. I remember this one moment we were writing a song called Afterglow. It's not out now, but it was. So I was a solo artist at first, and Chad managed me and wrote the songs with me. So like I made a record before A Great Big World, that Chad was like very much like a huge part of, and actually sang on it too. And one of the songs was Afterglow, and I remember we were writing, and we sang the line, which was like, "Promise I'll find you in the afterglow," and we sang that lyric to the melody. And it was the first moment of magic that I remember with Chad being like, wow, like the way those syllables and those words work with that melody, that did something special. And Chad was like running around the room. I remember I was sitting on the piano, and Chad was like freaking out, like what is this? Like, oh my God, because it's such a magical, mysterious process. Strong songwriting is, and there's something that happens when me and Chad, we can write independently of each other, but there's something that happens when we're in the room, that just something happens that is like it's beyond explanation. It's part of, I don't know what it is exactly, but it's the reason, part of the reason why we're able to write and make.
That moment, that afterglow moment, it did feel like a lock and key type of moment. It was like the melody plus the lyrics. Once we landed where we landed, it was like that's it. It was like that's it. And then I freaked out.
And so we always chase that feeling when we write, and that was like the first time we had it. And like every time we write now, like we're like, we go towards that, and if we feel that thing, which we still feel if we're lucky, then that we go towards it, and we try to capture that as much as we can.
Yeah, they often say that great duos or great people that work together and accomplish great things, they complement each other in different ways in terms of the other person fills in a particular gap. Do you guys find that when you work, like one person is stronger at lyrics and melodies or top lines or whatever? Is there something like that, or is there some sort of like personal gap filling that's taking shape or form when you guys are in that creative space?
There's not one of us that does one thing and one of us that does the other. It's like a big mishmash. But I'm just trying to remember like recent experiences of writing with Chad. And like I remember like we were writing this song. Like here's just one example. Like it happens differently each time. But I was writing this song and I had this idea. Chad had an idea for the song, and I'm like, no, I like this idea. I think it should be this idea. And I was so 100% confident that it should be this idea. And Chad was like, I don't know. There's something about it. I don't know. And like I was like forcing it on Chad. I'm like, you're
Wait,
crazy.
sorry to interrupt, Ian. Are you saying ideas and melodies?
Yeah, like melody and yeah, like a melody kind of idea, and the
So
chords.
I was pushing one for one melody.
And I was
Yeah.
pushing for the other, and I was so confident. And I could be really strong sometimes, and and I was like, no, this is it. And like Chad was coming around to it, but then like an hour later, Chad was still like questioning the melody, and then I like let my ego go, and I was like, all right, Chad's questioning this melody, but I believe it's the right melody, and then I was able to make a change to it where like I kept like the heart of it, but made a change to it. And Chad was like, "That's it. Oh my god, that's it." And I was like, "Oh wow, this is a lot. This is a lot better than what it was." But I don't know. I guess that's just like one example, but there's something about where like if Chad and I both like we fight for our ideas, but at the end of the day, if one of us isn't happy, then we work at it until we're both happy and passionate about it.
Yeah, we both trust each other that much. Like if Ian is like, that's just not good, and I'm like, what do you mean? I trust that Ian saying that's just not good. You know what I mean? Means something. So then I got to go back to the drawing board, or Ian has to with me, or yeah.
But like we're like brothers, so like we say like, oh, that's not good. We're probably way too mean to each other when we write, but that's just our relationship.
But that's also just how it's
Yeah.
developed over years. Yeah, decades,
And we
maybe.
don't take it like we don't like if Chad says that's not good to me, like I don't. I mean, I might take it personally for like 5 seconds, but then that's it.
Yeah, we've gotten into like massive fights, but it doesn't matter. It's like, okay, and then an hour later we're fine. We're doing something else.
Because we're passionate and we're heated, and the friction is actually a part of what gets made.
Have you guys ever had a moment where there was a blowout and you guys had to take a break from each other, and then like a day goes by and you're like, man, I really miss him right now?
I mean, all the time we fight, and then it's like the other day we were like fighting about something, and then I didn't talk to him for a day, and then Chad calls me randomly. I'm like, oh, what? Chad's calling. I picked it up, and he's like, Chad, what do you think about this? He's like, Ian, what do you think about this idea? And he just like totally disregarded the fight and just started playing an idea, and I was like, oh, that's a good idea, and then we just started writing it. Uh,
Let's
and
move
then
on.
we forgot about the past. You know what I mean?
I forgot that's I like that example and reflection. Yeah.
In first getting everything started off, you guys had done a Kickstarter campaign. What was the significance of that campaign to your guys' sort of jump off in your careers?
I was signed to a label right before that as a solo artist that and the label folded, and I got off of the label, and you know I was playing shows, and Chad was coming out there with me like tour managing and like helping drive, and also singing on a couple of the songs because he sang on a couple of the songs. And then it was just at that point starting to feel starting to feel weird that I was going out as a solo artist. And so when I left the label, it was like the perfect opportunity for us to be like, why don't we just join forces here and create something brand new. And so when we did a Kickstarter for it, actually didn't have the name of Great Big World yet. I think we were just like Ian and Chad, like we were still figuring out. But like we were able to raise enough money to record 5 songs, and those 5 songs are like Rockstar and I Really Want It and a few others that were on the first Great Big World record. So that's how it started for
Yeah.
us.
That was the Kickstarter was sort of like the launching point for us together in the band. Yeah. It was that was like yeah, that was the start.
What was the pitch?
The pitch was Ian and Chad. Was it Ian and Chad Strike Back? Was that, or was that like our
Oh yeah, maybe I think
or like I don't, it was ridiculous, and we were just like silly and had a lot of energy, and
because
uh
we also didn't know we didn't know how we were gonna do this. It was like we didn't have any support behind us, and we were like, the support we have are the fans that have been there since day one. So let's ask them for some help, and they did.
so some of like the rewards, or I forgot what you call them, like the different tiers, where we had, I gave like, I feel like we did maybe like we wrote a jingle for someone who donated using their name. We had some people come to a recording session and sing background vocals on Rockstar. We did things like that. We did private concerts. We did um there might have even been like lessons. But yeah, we it was a lot of fun.
Now, fast forward to present day, you've had incredible events happen in your career, and we're still here in 2025. Looking back at everything from a macro point of view, what do you think has been some of the biggest challenges you guys have faced in your careers, and how have you overcome them?
For me, I mean, so I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2007. Didn't really think that much of it, didn't know much about it, so I ignored it for many years. And then because we were also, me and Ian were doing our thing, and like the band was starting up, and I just didn't want that to get in the way. And then I got COVID, and the pandemic happened, and all of a sudden my walking became really weird, and then eventually now my singing has become not right. So now I'm like, now the MS is like affecting me, and it's like that. I would say that has been my biggest challenge the whole way through, because it's like I could only really manage it up to a certain point without anyone noticing. But now it's like, oh, you're gonna notice there's something going on with him. So yeah, and now it's all about like, okay, well, then if this is the case, if this is my new normal, like, how do I work around this moment? But that management of my MS is probably my biggest challenge.
Um, yeah, for me, I mean, I guess what Chad has been going through, and also what we've been going through, and the changes that you know we're having to like to face, and like how do we how do we stay strong, how do we stay together as like collaborators and like best friends, and support each other, and inspire each other, and keep this going, and to maybe uh untie some, like detach some bonds that didn't work anymore, and like make new ones. And because we've known each other for almost 2 decades, and a lot of life has happened for Chad and for me, and we have different dreams and different goals and different wishes. And uh I feel like it's so easy to, it's almost easier to like just walk away, and than like work on it, and like stay together, and figure it out. Because like we know that we both feel like we still have something to offer together. And what does that look like right now? And how it looks right now might be different than what it looks like 3 years from now. So that's been like that's been a big challenge for me. And like along the way too, it's for me, like I deal with OCD. I have OCD, and a lot of the I like ruminate a lot, and I have like a lot of fear, and like a lot of fears, and doubt, and I second guess a lot. And so just trusting and dealing with that, um, and and making music and doing this, or doing anything in life, is just like a huge leap of faith.
Wow, there's a lot there. Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, all of these things are just in taking any steps forward are take a lot of courage and bravery, and I applaud you guys for moving through all of this together and trying to figure it out together. I guess my first question is, I mean, on this topic for Chad, how has going through the process of dealing with MS shaped your life in terms of your career, and how has it impacted the way you approach making music?
Well, I feel like the way that and I think Ian too, the way that we feel like, or I feel like is the best way to approach this challenge is by leaning into it, and and music for me has been therapy for years, and I think for Ian too. And it's like you can't run away from something. For me, it's like music has always been there, and it's like I can lean into music to get me through that moment, um, and I feel really grateful that Ian has been there um, through these moments with me, and understands, and can write and tap into that emotion too, from that perspective, because this is as new as it is for me and challenging as it is for me, it is for Ian too. And like he was there before I had MS, and now he's here after, and so it's just like uh this thing where, but mute sorry just to say, music has always been that piece where it's like the most therapeutic, the most healing piece, of the MS journey. And I would say, I would say I've gotten to the point where I'm almost thankful for the MS because of the awareness that I now have.
Yeah, speaking of awareness, I mean, now you're an advocate for education in terms of like other people that are living with this condition. Is there anything that you want to, like, any goals that you might have in that realm to speak to others that might have this condition?
Yeah, I would love to help and inspire others. And um, I just am now signing up with Race to Erase MS as a board member on this organization, who has developed some incredible multiple sclerosis therapies. And Nancy Davis, the founder, is an incredible human, and I'm really excited to be on board. And I think that's going to be announced soon. But yeah, I'm just really excited to spread what I've learned through this journey as much as I can, to possibly help others who might be newly diagnosed, and are scared or confused, or yeah, dealing with it in a way that I did. Um, and I didn't know much about it, and so now I love the idea that I could be a voice in that world.
That's incredible. Ian, I saw you performing on sorry, it
Kelly
was
and Mark.
Kelly and Mark. I saw you, yeah, and you were there on the piano. You were by yourself. And obviously that was due to the announcement that Chad had made on his Instagram, not being able to perform with you and that kind of thing. Like, how has it felt for you to carry that part of the group by yourself?
It's, I mean, it's sad. It's it's scary. It's also exciting. I feel like Chad is there. Um, when we started, it was just me singing. So in a way, it feels similar to when Chad and I met, and when Chad was like writing the songs for me and like helping managing and like a part of all the decision making process. And sometimes he was there traveling with me, and sometimes he wasn't, and sometimes he would jump up on stage and sometimes he didn't. So it kind of feels like that to me right now, so it's a slightly familiar feeling. Um, so it's all brand new, and I guess it feels like it did when we first started doing this. So I have that same kind of like nervous energy. I've never played, or I haven't in a long time, like sets this long with just me. Like Chad had sang on, so I got like my little vocal rest in between songs, and the songs are challenging that we write, vocally, and so I got all like my like little nerves and stuff, but I'm excited. I'm excited to get out there again, and I know that Chad is also excited for me, which is awesome.
I was wondering if we could shift gears a little bit to the music. And I want to start with Say Something featuring Christina Aguilera. That was such a huge hit. Can you take us back to the songwriting sessions and kind of like the micro decisions that birthed that song?
Chad and I were both going through something at the same time, and it was very intense. And it was one of those songs that we felt like needed to be written. It was like needed to be written. Like it was. I remember writing it. I couldn't stop thinking about it because it took us like 3 weeks to write. Like we both had day jobs, and so we were both trying to grab time, like 10 minutes here, 15 minutes here, half an hour here to write the song. And Chad had, I think, the verse melody maybe, and he was playing it on guitar. And then I had the chorus melody, and I was playing it on piano. And so we kind of married the two. And I remember it being challenging to write because there wasn't a lot of space for lyrics. The melody was very sparse. So we wanted to make sure that like every syllable was really important. Uh, we had a very limited real estate to get that feeling that this, So I think that's why that was the challenge of that one.
Something I remember about that songwriting, the of writing that song was the moment in the end. I don't, so there's a moment where Ian goes from like drops down the octave and says, "Say something," I'm going up, and you say something. And I remember that last. It was like he did the "Say something," giving up on you, and we thought that was the end. But then I remember being like, "No, no, you have to say it one more time, but don't say I'm giving up on you." And then Ian just said, "Say something," and that was another moment where it was like, "That's the end. There it is. That is the end." And so I just remember that. And I don't know if I've even ever vocalized that. I've told you, Ian, that I remember that. But yeah, I don't know if you remember that.
I don't. I don't
That was a
remember
really special moment in my head for some reason.
I remember that's cool. I remember we wrote it on because because we both had jobs, and we would be like meet up at like random places in the city, or like we would meet up in like the park or whatever. I had my ukulele with me, so like we actually finished the song on the ukulele, and my first performances of it were on the ukulele, and then we also wrote it on the piano, so like I knew how to play it on the piano. And then like I feel like it was like my third or fourth performance of it, I played it on the piano, and one of my friends was at the show, and he was like, "Ian, only play that song on the piano." And then I'm like, okay. So then we started playing it, more on the piano.
Chad, you mentioned getting to the end. When you got to that end point, did you guys know like what it was about to do? Or was it like one of those ones that you catalog and then you go back to later and like, hey, this is actually pretty good. Let's see what
It
people think of
it
it.
I mean, Ian, you might have another opinion, but for me, it was like it was a good song that we had just written, but I didn't think anything more than that. I was like, oh, it's a good song, and then it wasn't until stuff started happening that I was like, oh wow, maybe it's a really good song.
I mean, for me, it felt more emotional than others. It felt more urgent than others at the time. But we've written songs since then that I thought have felt the same urgency, that have done absolutely nothing. So I have I have no idea how this works.
Um, I guess how did you react though? Like when things were getting bigger, what was life like during and after the song?
It happened really fast, and it was a really big surprise. because we were signed to a label. Our first single as the band was "This Is the New Year," and you know, I I don't know that it was like going like super well for us. Um, and then
Like the song wasn't
yeah,
performing as well at
wasn't doing
radio
well
as
on
that
like
everyone
radio.
wanted it, and
Yeah, and I there was like uncertainty like whether we were like gonna get dropped or not, and we're like, what's the next single? Our album hadn't come out yet, and then you know, so I mean, backstory: we had written "Say Something" years before the first Great Big World record, and when I was a solo artist, I put out a version of the song, and that version of the song like started like getting covered a little bit on YouTube, and there were dance companies and dancers like doing like choreography to it and stuff, and so it was already kind of making its way out there. And around this time when This Is the New Year wasn't doing well, we got a random call from like So You Think You Can Dance, and they wanted to use the song, and it wasn't and the new version wasn't out, and we're like, oh my god, this is the perfect opportunity to put the new version of the song out there. Like, don't use the old version, use this one. And so we like forced our label to like put it up on iTunes, and then the show aired, and the next day it was like number like I don't know, like it was back when people bought music. It was before streaming, so it was which is crazy. It was like number 13, or I don't know. It was like crazy. Like it was like, what is happening here? And then the whole label and everyone was like, say something, like say something. We're going to radio. And me and Chad were like, what are you talking about? Say something. It's not a radio song. And also like A Great Big World is like me and Chad. Our voices. We want to come out like with our voices together, and we're about joy and optimism, and Say Something is the most depressing song on the record. And it was like, it was unstoppable. It was like this unstoppable, no, we're going with Say Something. And then I guess someone played it for Christina, and it was like not too much longer that like maybe the matter of weeks where we got a call saying like, are you guys sitting down? And we're like, yeah. And it's like, well, Christina Aguilera is interested in doing a duet on with you. And we were like, what? Like Christina Aguilera? Like what is happening here? Like what? Like it was the most out of the box like thing. Like
yeah, well, actually, yeah, it's like the fact that the label wanted to really say something was already strange enough to us. It was like, that's not a radio single. How's it gonna work? And then it didn't make any sense. And then all of a sudden we get this Christina Aguilera.
is she sure she
You
wants to sing with me? Like what? Yeah, I'm not a singer. Like I what? Uh and then a week later we were in LA recording it with her. So it happened so fast. We didn't have time to think.
Mhm.
And while we were going through it, it was hard to like be present with it, because we were saying yes to everything, and we were having incredible experiences, but it was one after the other after the other after the, and it was just go 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 until I feel like 2 years passed, and we were like what just happened?
Yeah.
And then we got to like really like reflect on it all. I don't think we realized the gravity of it while we were going through it.
You guys have maintained that relationship with Christina, because not too long ago there was a second single that had come out, which was also fire. Yeah. So do you guys foresee like continuous collaborations with her?
I mean, I would love to. I would love to.
Same.
We still see each other every once in a while. Like we still get to like to sing that song together, and I really cherish those moments. And I pinch myself. It's like I have to pinch myself every time it happens, and it's not lost to me how incredible of an experience that is. That every time that happens, I mean, you can probably count it on your fingers how many times we've sung that song live. So it's not been many.
So your new EP, Then There Were Sparks, is dropping on February 21st. Can we talk about the project in its entirety? Like, what was the inspiration behind the project, and how does it represent where you are as artists today?
I think the song "Then There Were Sparks" is in general like about the feeling of like, when you're stuck and you feel like you can't break through, or you don't know kind of what to do, and you maybe want to give up. and then it's like that breakthrough, and that where it's like, oh, where like you remember, and like the magic that happens, and I think for me and Chad, for different reasons, and for also reasons that we shared like together as a like a partnership in this, I feel like it was a moment for us. And when we write songs, they're our therapy, and we write what we need to kind of help us break through. And that song is that for a lot of those reasons.
On the EP, there's also a few different versions of "Say Something," and we wanted to celebrate the 10-year anniversary, and so those are on here. And then there's another song called "Go On" that no one knows or no one has heard yet, that I'm really excited about. And that one, it's like all of our releases kind of chronicle what is going on in our lives, and like this EP is not any different. And it's like "Go On" was a song that I wrote around my father's passing, or Ian and I wrote it. But like that was one of the most, like, I don't know, that was one of the hardest songs for me to write. And um, I'm so proud of where we got the recording to, because I feel like it really captured the moment. And yeah, I'm really excited for people to hear that one.
Speaking of lives and speaking of stories that are being communicated through living life, there's a line that I wanted to ask you about from the single, and it's got this habit of thinking I'm in control, holding on for dear life, and it's getting old, was never good at letting go. What does letting go mean to you exactly? And what do the sparks represent in contrast to that emotion?
I think, well, to answer the question in a different way, I think the holding on refers to a couple different things. For me and Chad, it's like holding on to the old ways of things, and holding on to the past, if it's not like kind of serving us anymore, and kind of figuring out how to, like, what our relationship is now and how we can best be partners in this. And then for me personally, I think it's about my OCD. If I have like obsessive compulsive disorder, if I have compulsions to do things, or it's because I got to do this, or for this thing to happen or to not happen, or is there anything that I do or not do that can affect other people, and I get so caught up in it, and it's this false sense of control. And I'm really trying to live my life with less of that, and with less, where OCD is less muscular in my in my life, and so it's a constant struggle for me.
These habits that you have, like, do you have any sort of things that you go to, that you turn to, that remedy the situation, basically?
Yeah, well, I guess being mindful is part of it, like being aware that, oh, is this OCD? um so I guess that's that's like one of the first steps, is like being able to identify it. And then it's really like it's really through it's like doing reps of okay, I'm not going to engage in the behavior in this moment, and like picking something that I can do in a repetitive way, and like maybe focusing on one thing this week that I'm not going to do, and really trying to do more reps of that. And as I do that, it kind of like rewires the circuitry in my brain. um there's different things in my life that give me different levels of OCD anxiety. And so if I start on smaller things that, like, oh, maybe I don't have to, like, check the stove this time, or check the lock, or whatever it is. I mean, there's a million of them. Those are just like very common generic ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of my OCD also is in my mind. It's not actually physical checking. So it's like thoughts that get stuck in loops. and it's almost like I'm revisiting the thoughts, like, and I have to revisit it again, and I have to, so I get stuck there. It's really difficult. I'm in therapy, on and off medication. I've had it my whole life. It wasn't diagnosed when I was a kid, and then and I was just able to handle it, and then it started affecting my life and people around me, like when I around 30. But it's also part of, like, our music and my creativity, and I feel like the way I see the world and the way I hear the world. So I think I'm trying to figure out how to embrace it and also be grateful for that. Kind of similar to what Chad was saying about his his relationship with his MS. But it's really challenging to do that. So it's an ongoing process.
Also, like the concept of letting go. I've been in situations in my life where I was really anxious about something and I just decided to let it go, and then things turned out better than I thought that they would. Have you ever experienced something like that before?
Yeah, I mean, particularly with in relation to OCD, you have all these fears that something's going to happen or not if you don't engage, right? And so when you're actually practicing, like, not engaging with it, and then you wake up the next morning and everything's okay, it it almost gives, and or 2 days later you completely forget about the thing you were freaking out about 2 days earlier, where it's not the emergency anymore. And so the more you're aware of that, and the more that happens, I could, like, ride that wave and, like, use it as motivation to kind of keep going. So from an OCD perspective,
Is that the spark though? Like, in terms of what that spark represents, is it that thing where you do let it go and then the universe manifests
Yeah,
and transpires to just do its part in your life to make great things happen?
I love the saying that when one door closes, another one opens, or a window opens, um, because it's so true. And that in that moment is the spark, the right before, like right as the door is closing and right as another one is opening, like it's right in there. Then there were sparks happens. But I remember, I haven't spoken about this, but I remember there, and or I spoke to Ian about it, but during the pandemic, as my walking was getting stranger, and like I probably was looking a little funny as I was walking to the studio every day, and it got to the point where I was like so against having a walking aid, having a cane. I didn't, or a walker, or any sort of aid to help me. I was so I was felt so embarrassed if I had to use an aid, and it took it took a second for me to get there. And once I got there and was able to start using a walking aid and not be embarrassed by it, all of a sudden it was like I felt like I could see the world again. It felt like, oh my God, this is what the world looks like now. Now it's like I don't have to carry that weight. And so I just feel like this idea of like when one door closes, another one opens. It was like I I I I shut down I stopped those thoughts of like embarrassment behind the walking aid piece, and instead embraced it, and I feel like that changed everything. And that was like a switch. It was like one little switch, and it just changed my whole universe. Anyway, so I'm remembering that. Yeah.
I think everyone can relate to that spark moment in our lives that just give us a whole new perspective. How would you guys describe the sonic shaping and production choices on the new EP? Should we expect any surprises?
one thing that we did different on the EP was that for our song "Go On," we I sang it live, with while I play the piano, and usually we just haven't recorded that way. Usually I record the piano, I do many takes, we pick a piano take or we comp it together, and then we record a million vocals and we edit you know what I mean? Like, and we try to, like, speaking of control, we try to, like, control it and shape it and make it perfect. And for Go On, it didn't feel like that type of song. If the song is like a minute and a half long, it's not even like a full structure of a song, and it almost felt like a moment. And we just wanted to capture a moment, so I recorded it live. Over the course of 2 days, because I felt differently another day, and I just wanted to like, I wasn't even listening back to them. I was just recording them over the course of, did a few takes one day, a few takes another day, and then we listened back, and so that was cool. That was different, and I really had to like kind of let go of things, for sure. And because you can't fix it, you can't edit it. Otherwise, production. Any other changes or surprises, Chad?
I don't know if it's gonna surprise people production wise or sonically. I think it'll, yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. I don't think it's I don't think it's a surprising like, oh my God, kind of a
Yeah, it kind of
moment.
feels like the natural kind of evolution of
Yeah.
where we've been going.
So you're not gonna have like Timbaland beats on there or anything like that.
Yeah.
Not yet.
No.
Man, this has been awesome, guys. I just want to thank you for once again coming on here and sharing so heartfelt, being so vulnerable in your story, and how it sort of connects to your music and the new project. We're at the last question of the main section. And as I mentioned before, this is a platform for aspiring creators that use music to express themselves. The question is for those aspiring songwriter artists who look up to you, what advice would you give them?
I would tell them that each person can do something that no one else can do. Each person has a voice that is unique to themselves, and the minute you start comparing yourself to other people or thinking, oh, I want to do that or I want to do that. I mean, I feel like it's good to like be inspired and to like like be aspirational, but just to not lose sight of what you have, and because the people that you look up to can't do what you do. And if you find whatever voice your voice is, whatever your story is, it requires being vulnerable. And if you're able to lean into that, I really feel like that's how you can connect to other people.
I was gonna I was I was really gonna say the same thing, but I feel like just to add, can I add to that? I feel like I would say learn from others. Like learn your craft from others. You know what I mean? Copy all your favorite artists and in that way so you can absorb what their decision making is like. But at the end of the day, follow your own passion. Like follow what brings you joy. Like that is going to give the world something brand new that they've never heard and discovered. And I think, and then people will learn from you. And so I think learning from past musicians and artists and creators is amazing, and you should. And I would say, but also embrace and really go like lean into what moves you, because like that's going to be the most unique thing about it.
I think that advice is going to go a long way for a lot of people. If possible, could we transition to the rapid fire round? Just really
Sure.
short, quick answers, and then we'll close out with what's next for you guys. So, number one, what DAW do you use and why?
I use Logic because I've just been an Apple person, kind of. I worked at the Apple store out of college. Got into it.
I use Logic because Ian uses Logic.
Nice. Favorite plugins?
I guess Valhalla Reverb. Also, I use a lot of sample libraries when we write, and so but for piano, I'm really liking the Noir. I don't know how you pronounce it.
I think
Noire.
that's right.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm not as articulate as Ian is, but I mean I use Contact the Library, and like Maverick piano setting is my go-to. So yeah.
Nice. What is a sound that always brings you joy?
My kids' laughter.
Is the same?
Can I say the same thing? Is that weird?
That is Chi Chi to them. Exactly.
I feel like, but I feel like there's something about kids' laughter that is so genuine and pure and beautiful, and yeah, I feel like there's something in that that I also would say brings me joy.
How would you rank your music creator skill sets out of 10 for the following?
Oh God.
Beat making,
Beat making, 1.
Same.
lyric writing,
Oof. How do I rate myself lyrics? I don't know. Um,
7, 8, 7, 8.
sure. I mean, that's sure. Sure.
sound design,
I mean, if someone else is facilitating for me, like if I'm just in a room, like I do like kind of, I mean, maybe like more closer to like a 7 or 8. If I'm doing it on my own, 2.
Fine. Yeah, I would say 5 and 1.
hey, that was different. Mixing,
1.
Yeah, 1.
top lining,
Oh, like writing
Writing
melody,
a hook.
yeah,
writing.
like vocal melodies over top of the beds.
Oof. I feel like we're good at that, Chad.
I mean, yeah, but we've not just been hired to do top lining,
No,
so that's
no,
why I,
like we're
I would
slowing
say
down the rapid fire right now.
I know I would say 2 or 3, 2 or 3. Give me 2 or 3.
I mean, I mean, when we write together, like melodies are like super easy they come out. So I would say
Yeah,
more
Yeah.
like 7 or 8.
Okay. Music theory,
5.
5.
Yeah. Oh, if you're a 5, Ian, I'm a 3.
arranging,
7. I feel like I can't
4.
give myself more than a 7 or 8 on anything. I feel like that's like
Yeah.
not right.
what is your reaction or facial expression when you know you made some heat?
Like as in a good thing.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, like wincing.
Mm,
Yeah, I feel like
that's a good one.
I'm. It's like I stop breathing and just close my mouth.
When do you feel 100% happy with a song you made?
Never.
Yeah, never.
How do you stay sharp lyrically and melodically?
By continuing to write.
Yeah, same. Yeah, practice.
What do you understand now about the music business that you didn't understand when you first started?
That it requires luck.
Well, I would also say on the label side, I didn't realize how much like how much you make or money or whatever. I didn't realize how much that affected their decisions. Like it doesn't matter how good you are if you're not making them money.
If AI technology was somehow able to take over our jobs as music creators, what new career path would you choose?
Oof. I don't even know. I it's crazy that we have music careers. Like to me, like music's always been like something that I feel needed to do. So it's weird to even think about it that way. But like, I mean, I guess I would maybe like something with science, maybe something with like the stars, astronomy.
Nice.
I'd probably go into some sort of something in the health world, alternative medicine. Maybe I'd go back to school for medicine. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, guys, we made it. We're at the last question. Thank you once again for joining us. What's next for A Great Big World? Anything you want to promote to the Sonically community?
Yes, Chad and I have been working on a musical for, I mean, multiple different ones for a while. We can't say too much about it yet, but we're hoping to have information soon that's exciting, and so look out for that. It's been our dream to write musicals since we've met.
Any tours or like anything you want to say about the
Yeah,
album or
yeah, yeah,
anything like
yeah.
I,
that?
Oh, yeah, yes. Thanks. We have some shows coming up. We're starting in the Northeast, so it's like New York, Boston, Philly, and DC, and there's definitely going to be more shows that we're going to announce this year. The EP is coming out in February. We're continuing to write and want to keep putting out music again. So starting up the engine.
Okay, well, that was awesome, you guys. Chad, Ian, an amazing pleasure to meet you. I'm really bad at goodbyes, so I'm just gonna try to make this as smooth and fluid as possible. But yeah, we're rooting for you guys in all of your endeavors. We'll be praying for you, and many blessings to you guys for your upcoming tour, your new album, and yeah, just thank you. And I know 100% people are going to get so much out of our conversation today, and yeah, I just wish you guys so many blessings ahead.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
This was awesome. Also,
Yeah.
go Yankees.
Go Yankees. All right, guys.
See you
All right.
soon.
Take care.
Thank you.